resilience is a very important skill most men don't have. If resilience is not learned in childhood, do you believe resilience can still be learned in adulthood?
I do. And I actually believe that it'll be better learned in adulthood than in childhood, because when you have to be resilient as a child, you don't necessarily know what you're learning. So a lot of times what we see from grown men who had to be resilient as a child, they are trauma ridden as adults. But when you're an adult and you forced to be resilient, now you have a better understanding of what you're going through. So now the lessons, they mean something, they mean more. So I really didn't have to be resilient as a kid, because I grew up in a two-parent home, one home my whole life, three-bedroom house. So it was comfortable for me. The resiliency for me came as an adult, being kicked off my college football team, you know, getting in trouble, being in the streets, living that lifestyle, almost losing my wife, almost losing my first son. So that is where resiliency was built. So that changed my perspective on it.
But in men in general, right? Because too many times we take our unique situation and put it on the next people. The average man, like, how can he learn resilience if he didn't learn it as a child?
He's gonna have to learn it by going through. It's gonna be, your average man is gonna fail. He's gonna lose a job. He's gonna lose a girlfriend. And so that's where we learn resiliency, by understanding that it's really about how you look at the situation. So today we don't have a lot of resilient men because they're looking at the situation like, why did this happen to me? Instead of, why did this happen for me? Or looking at it like, this is only building my story. I was talking to a young man who went through a tough situation, and he's being forced to uproot his life. And he was in a woe is me type of mentality. And what I told him is, pretend you're watching a movie and you're the main character, and what has happened to you just happened in this movie. If you're sitting on the outside looking in, what do you want to see this character do? If this character, the main character, goes and starts getting high all day, starts getting drunk, starts beating on his girlfriend, how are you gonna feel? You're gonna sit there and you're gonna be like, man, come on, get it together. Like, come on, man. Like, this just one bump in the road. Like, okay, you got kicked out of college. Like, what's next? Like, turn this into something. And when we take that approach, that's how a man builds resiliency, by, instead of looking at it like the world is against him and hating women. That's what, in my space, that's what I see. Most men getting their heart broke today. They go for a woman, the woman cheats on them, and then they hate women. Instead of letting it make them wiser, letting it make them stronger, letting them change, make them change how they choose their woman, they instead join the woman haters club. And by doing that, you don't build resiliency. You become a victim.
I'm glad you said that, because the key to resilience is perspective. How you view a certain event, you know. And too many times people view events as personal. One, it's like a personal attack on them, and also it's just like they don't see the lesson to be learned. And it's not an end of the world. We live in the end of the world vibe. Anything happens, it's the end of the world with people, you know.
And that's the thing too, is where a lot of times we don't realize it, but our personal experience is not always the same as other people's experience, but the principles are the same. So even if a man went through, or a woman, for example, my wife, she went through a lot as a child, meaning a lot of evictions. Well, that didn't necessarily make her resilient, because she couldn't process what was happening. Instead, it more so made her fearful of change. And so, whereas because I was in one home, it makes me open to moving to Europe because I've been in one place. Whereas because she was moved around, she wants stability. So the principles remain the same, is that as a child, we didn't fully understand what was going on. But those seeds were planted, and the fruit of it happens to us in our adulthood. And so that's where I believe it's important that we start to identify as adults those trauma points, those pain points, and really evaluate it with adult wisdom instead of just continuing to be a victim to what we've gone through and what we've experienced. And understanding that my experience is no different than your experience, even if your experience is totally different, the principles and the lessons and the message, that's the through line.